All right, young scholars, welcome to the 9.3 HTML lecture. If you go ahead and click to download the HTML PowerPoint I've provided for you, you'll notice these slides pop up. Once you open them, that I will go through with today's lecture recording. You'll also see, as I will do with most of these lessons, additional content is provided, an additional introduction to HTML PowerPoint I have provided for you. Additionally, as mentioned, for all of the meetings going forward, except for the last one with the team presentations at 6 p.m. that evening, we will have a question and answer session for any questions you might have regarding the content or assignments for that week. So this week, we will cover some basic HTML tags and code, as well as develop a drop-down menu, which we're going to use and modify later on to demonstrate how CSS, or cascading style sheets, help us improve HTML. So what is HTML? Well, HTML helps us publish online documents, retrieve online information, create forms, and we can also embed a variety of different items, such as spreadsheets, video clips, sound clips, and other applications like databases directly into specific documents as we need. The HTML uses markup language, which the web browser interprets. As you will see later on, we use certain tags to demonstrate paragraph, which would be the P tag, list, which we'll show today, table, which we'll show next week, and so on. There are various different tags that we can use that we'll discuss today, next week, and on the 17th. So HTML, as I mentioned last week, stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It consists of tags and values. Tags have attributes which are specified as, for example, here we have the font size tag, and we've added 1 to it, where size here is the attribute to the tag font, and +1 is the value of that attribute. So the value of the size. So again, font is the tag, size is the attribute, +1 is the value of that attribute. This is what is called inline, which you'll see further when we discuss CSS. So here's another example of how HTML would work. We have less than sign, font size equals, inside quotes, +1. Close that tag, put the text here of test font, and then anytime you actually close a tag, you have /font. So remember, font is the tag here, size is the attribute. As you'll see here, font is tag, attribute is size, attribute value is +1, just as we referenced on the previous slide. And the text value here is test font. So as I just mentioned, that /font appears at the end of the code to close out that tag in HTML. So the font tag is closed out by having the /font at the end. So you've probably seen both static and dynamic websites, but here's some differences. Static websites, they never change unless the code is changed by whoever developed it and re-uploads it to the web server. People are more likely to return to dynamic websites because it's more likely that the information is going to be changing and updated on there. So dynamic websites can change based on an event or data based on code on the website. So think of ESPN. Anytime you go to the website, there's something new on the homepage. It's been updated. There's more information for you to look through and gather. Common occurrences of this could be simply just editing the date and time at the top of the website. So here's some sample code. In this instance, we don't really necessarily need the word doc type here. You can get rid of this code and just have it start with the HTML tag. That's perfectly fine. Doc type is more heavily used with XHTML, which we'll see in 2 weeks. And you'll notice as well that we've set our language to be English for this. So it cannot be changed to any other language like you might see in other examples. So in this example code, all we have is our HTML tag, our head tag, our title tag, and our body tag. So the HTML code is what starts and stops the entire web page. So you'll notice the HTML tag at the top, the HTML tag closed out at the bottom. The head tag contains all the metadata or information about your website. It's placed in between the HTML tag and the body tag. So in your header, you might just have your title of the document, which will display at the top of the web browser. So for example, content here for our Web Campus page would be the title for this specific document. You might also have within that header other metadata, which is data about the document. If you were to go to the ESPN.com website and right-click and do View Page Source, you'd see information about all their different tags they have to be searched for, such as sports, etc. And of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, within the body tag is where 99.9% of your information is going to be. So as I just referenced, the body tag basically contains everything you're going to put within your HTML document. It defines the document's body, what's in the body. So you're going to have all of your headings, paragraphs, any images you embed, hyperlinks, tables, lists, etc. You can embed documents like PDF files in there as well. But there can only be one body element in an HTML document. You'll see that we can have multiple lists, multiple headings. There's only one body. Now we'll touch on what is called the UL tag. You'll notice here we open with just the UL inside the brackets. Then when you close it, you have to have that slash. So UL stands for unordered list. Basically creates a list in which nothing is ordered within it. It can show up in any order. So in order to create an unordered list, we use this HTML code as an example. So the UL, we open the unordered list. The LI tag, we add our list items. So in this example, we have a list item coffee, a list item tea, a list item milk. And then we close out our unordered list tag. Now, since it's an unordered list, these 3 items will show up in any random way. If we wanted to have it in this exact order instead of UL for the unordered list, we'd use the OL tag for ordered lists. Now, as you'll see with our basic example today, these lists kind of look pretty boring with HTML, which is why we'll cover CSS later on in the course, which help us style lists and make them look nicer. So as I just mentioned, the LI tag refers to list items, what you're putting in either your unordered list or ordered list. You can also add them to within a select menu, which we'll do momentarily. And again, as I mentioned, we will later on in the course use CSS to enhance our lists. So an additional tag you may want to know, or definitely should know, is the A tag, which allows us to define and set any hyperlink within our web page. It's often accompanied by the href attribute, which is simply short for hyperlink reference. And next week, when we do tables and embed pictures into those tables, we are going to show you exactly how that href attribute works within the A tag. So by default, any link you put in your HTML document, when it appears within a browser, will look as so. An unvisited link is underlined in blue. A visited link is underlined in purple. That means if you click on that link and have not cleared your cookies, it will show up as purple. And an active link is underlined in red. And you'll see when we get to CSS that we can also change those specific defaults. So here's an example of the A tag with the href attribute applied to it. So if we were to put this line of code in the second bullet into an HTML document, it would give us that HTTPS w3schools.com link with the words visit w3schools.com. So if we clicked on that visit w3schools.com as it showed up, it would be purple and open up the new page. If we just looked at it and saw it, it would be blue by default. So the hyperlink reference, the href equal, is to the website. The target opens the new link in a new browser window. So when you have target blank, it opens it in a new window instead of the window that you're currently in your web browser. And again, we'll go through this more next week when we touch on embedding images into tables. So here's a simple example of what an HTML page might look like. We have our HTML tag open, our HTML tag closed. Our head tag open, our head tag closed. All we have within our head tag right now is the title tag open, the title tag closed, and the name of this web page is going to be your name. Then we have the body tag open, the body tag closed. And within the body tag, we have an unordered list. Unordered list open tag, unordered list close tag. But within that unordered list, we have two list items. We have list item open, list item closed for the simple words bulleted text. And then we get a little more complicated. We have the list item open, the list item closed. It's going to show the word website. And if you click on it, because it's a hyperlink reference, it's going to take you to website.com. So here's some other important tags that you need to know as you're going through building HTML code. So the P and P close tag is for writing a paragraph within text. You'll also see that we can have H1 through H5, which gives us headings for other text to make it larger. The B tag, and you'll notice that the rest do not have the closing tag like they should, but the B tag is bold text. The strong tag is important text. They're relatively the same. You are unlikely to notice the minuscule difference. The same for the I or italic tag and the EM or emphasized text tag. They're very similar, and it's more than likely that you would not be able to notice the minuscule differences. And then there's the small tag, which allows us to simply make that text smaller. So as I just mentioned, the B and strong tags pretty much both just bold the text. So if you were to use bold my name, close the bold tag, it'll show up as bold text. Same with the strong tag. It'll show up as bold text. Then you will notice the same with the italic tag and the EM or embed emphasis rather tag. They'll both simply show up looking like they are italic. And as mentioned, the small tag simply creates the text in a smaller size. Ideally, you're going to use that tag when you want to de-emphasize something, make it a little smaller than the rest of the text in the document. So the rest of this PowerPoint focuses on creating a drop-down menu, which is going to include the links home, favorite teams, and contact me. You're welcome to do this and check this out on your own. For example, you're going to have your favorite sports teams as those three options within the dropdown. So on slide 18 here, as I mentioned, you need to use the P tag to create a paragraph. I give you this example code of how you'll start your HTML tag, your head tag, your body tag. So you're going to copy that code, and in the WYSIWYG link I provided you last week to start you out. Then you'll notice on the next slide, you are given code for an unordered list. So you'll copy that UL through close UL into your body section. So now it looks like so. Then on the next slide, you'll notice on slide 20, you now have your selections for your menu drop-down menu. So you highlight the code, the tag select with the attribute name through the select close tag. And because you're going to select your favorite sports teams, you'll click enter after favorite sports teams and paste the code after that so that your options look like so. Because if you put the select menu after contact me or home, it doesn't give you the correct options. You'll notice then on slide 21 exactly how the body should look now. With your unordered list, home, sports teams, then the selection menu options, then your contact me, so that it looks like so. It's entirely up to you where you put paragraph here. In that example image on slide 22, it's underneath. You'll see here as we run the code that it's above it. All we would have to do to get it back underneath is highlight that P or paragraph tag, cut it, and paste it underneath. And then when we run, it's now underneath it. So the order within your HTML code counts as well. So you would go ahead and modify whatever your three favorite sports teams are. So where it says option value 1 equals team 1, value 2, team 2, value 3, team 3, you would edit this text for the selections. So I'm going to do my favorite three teams: Yankees, 49ers, and Knicks. And you'll notice when I run, that now drop-down menu, instead of team 1, team 2, and team 3, now gives me these three options I've changed it to. So if you go ahead and change this to my favorite sports teams and run, it now changes that text. You'll notice for all of them, I have used the Ahref or hyperlink reference, but because I do not have anything linked, when you scroll over them, it just gives you the link up here in the web browser. But otherwise, you would put your needed link within there. And as I mentioned, this is very not great looking, which is simple, basic HTML, which is why CSS helps us later on down the road to make everything else look better or more colorful, however you want to look at it. So again, this first and second line of code gives us our list item of home, favorite sports teams, just like the last one does. List item, contact me, right there in the bulleted list. And then the select tag gives us our options for our menu. So select is the tag, name is the attribute, teams would be the value of the attribute. And again, this is what we would call inline code, which we will see later on when we use CSS. And then each of the options gives us an option to select. If I were to go ahead and add a fourth option, and let's say I add the Devils, and run that, that now simply adds a fourth option within the drop-down selection. So again, this is simple, basic HTML code that we're just going to touch on this week to get your feet wet in a learning HTML. And next week, we will focus on creating tables and embedding images into those tables.